residents of Hamlin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Pastor Cody, you'd like to do the invocation?
Yes. Yeah, let's pray. God, on this snowy night, we come to you and ask your blessing upon this gathering, and we pray your blessing upon our community of Hamlin, that you would guide and protect, that you would bless us as a country and a community with your unity, and we pray that you would also give wisdom to everybody gathered here tonight, that decisions that are made would be for the benefit of those who live here in this place. So we thank you for this, and we pray it in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you, Pastor.
And another thing I forgot. Exits are out the door. Both ends of the hall are the emergency exits across the halls and AED in case it is needed. Now we'll go through a roll call, please.
Yeager.
Here.
Coco. Here. Robert.
Here.
Now. Here. 5.
Yes. Go into public forum. Anybody would like to speak from the audience? Now is your time. We'll keep it to around 3 minutes or so, just general to the whole board, not to a specific board member. If you want it quoted exactly as how you say it, please hand the town clerk a copy of it. Is there anybody who wants to speak? Seeing nobody wants to speak, we'll close the public forum. Requesting town board resolution to approve the regular town board meeting minutes of December 22nd, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Yeager.
Yes.
Coco.
Yes.
Robert.
Yes.
Now. Abstain. 5.
Yes. Town board, requesting town board resolution to approve the town board organizational meeting January 3rd, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Yeager.
Yes.
Coco.
Yes.
Robert.
Yes.
Now.
Yes.
5.
Yes. Requesting town board resolution to approve the payment of bills from their respective funds.
So moved.
Second.
Yeager.
Yes.
Coco.
Yes.
Robert.
Yes.
Now.
Yes.
5.
Yes. There's another one we forgot, 7.5 is the supervisor's monthly report acknowledged and filed with the town clerk. We're going to request, number 9, requesting town board resolution for the following budget transfers. And I will just stipulate to the things listed on the agenda.
Did we not budget enough for the zoning and planning board?
No, I did not. I made a mistake by $8 and $12.
It's very minimal, but I'm just wondering why
Yeah.
that is. I'm like,
Yeah.
usually
It was a typo error on my part.
All right. So moved.
Yeager.
Yes.
Coco.
Yes.
Robert.
Yes.
Now.
Yes.
5.
Yes. Requesting town board resolution to approve town clerk's end of year report for 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Yeager.
Yes.
Coco.
Yes.
Robert.
Yes.
Now.
Yes.
5.
Yes. Requesting town board resolution to change the start time for the zoning board of appeals meetings for the year 2022 from 7:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. effective February 22nd, 2022.
Is that on their request, Steve?
It was on their request, yes.
So moved. Second.
Jaeger,
Yes.
Coco,
Yes.
Robert,
Yes.
Hale,
Yes.
Buzz.
Yes.
Now with that, do we need, we don't need a resolution to advertise these, do we? Do we need-
For this?
Yeah, to change the
No,
time.
no.
Okay.
She can just, I don't even know if we have to advertise, we probably should, at least on the web page.
It was in the paper, so
But
Maybe for next
on
month's.
the monthly or each week, whenever they have it in the paper, I'll just make sure it's 7 o'clock instead of 7:30.
Cause the dates haven't changed, it's the time, so.
And it's published monthly,
It's published monthly.
Yes, it's published monthly.
so.
This next one is to form the history committee, which we were talking about. And as I read it, if there's any discussion, but I would also, since our town board person, Jennifer Volko, brought this up to our attention and actually asked to have it formed, I would like if you guys would let her have the first motion to carry it or whatever through. But I'll read it and then we can have discussion. Requesting town board resolution to form a volunteer history committee whose job will be to help the town of Hamlin historian enhance our history center and to serve at the discretion of the town board. Now, while we have discussion, I'm gonna start it off. I have talked to other history, Parmas and Clarksons and stuff, history committees. And they actually have history societies, which takes, you have to do the state, it's a lot bigger thing. It has to be okay with the state, and you have to like 100 members or whatever and all that. We can do this. I just thought, well, instead of hitting that big note right off the bat, let's start this committee. If there's a thing, I mean, even in mid-year, we can make another resolution and
Depending on how much interest.
depending on the interest and everything with it, and go for the, because it will take a few months to get the state on board and get all with them and everything, but I figured this would be a good starting point for it. And we can expand on this.
So how many people are you looking on to have on the committee this year?
I would say no more than probably half a dozen right now, or I mean, unless you get a whole lot of, I would say right now, maybe half a dozen for exploratory, and we probably need to ask the historian what he actually, what help he actually wants, how much and everything. And like I say, we can always, later on this year, we can expand this if there's a whole bunch of interest in it, but I would maybe start with half a dozen, 6 or 8. Explore things, talk to the historian, and then bring it back to us, and if we need to expand, we can.
So for a society, how many members?
There's not a set number. You have a board, you have an actual board, and then you get, I think they have like half a dozen people on the actual board. But then they have a whole bunch of people who volunteer to help. Like Parma says they have 90-some actually people who help them. They have like a half a dozen people on their board, the History Society board. And then like 90-some people help them for doing stuff. So like I said, I just said, well, let's start small and see where it is, and we can enlarge if we need to.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't know how many people will be interested. I mean, maybe you'll get 2. You know, I don't know.
Well, if we only get 2, maybe then we just stay a history committee and see what he needs, and we won't go for the society.
Is this something you're gonna want in the paper as well,
Right.
posted?
To say that we are looking for people interested, volunteers.
I can get with Dave and come up with some language for that based on what the needs are.
That's fine. Yeah, like I said, you and him both requested this, so I thought, well, all right, let's go for it and see where it goes.
Sure.
So move.
Second.
Jaeger,
Yeah.
Volko,
Yeah.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Mail,
Yes.
Bob.
Yes. The next one, the cultural committee, is another new committee that we're looking to form. I actually wanted to do this one I wanted our festivals in town to be apolitical. And to just have like our recreation director, Aki, would definitely be on the board probably, because she is recreation director. maybe somebody from the fire department, cause maybe we'll be working on their grounds, you know, all different people, maybe VFW, I don't know, you know, our liaison and different people, maybe somebody from a business in town, so if a businessman can have a little bit of something, maybe for a festival that may help with their business or whatever. So I wanted this to be, like I said, apolitical. I figured a little committee with a whole bunch of different people on it and stuff would be the best thing for town. Maybe we can come up with some new festivals and stuff for the town, since we haven't had big ones, except for the Halloween fest in the month of October. So,
Yeah, good idea.
And I'm cruising,
yes, you're cruising,
Yeah.
the one we already had.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'll read it, and then we can have more discussion or whatever if you want. Requesting town board resolution to form a volunteer cultural committee whose job will be to help organize and implement different festivals, concerts, and other functions for the town of Hamlin, and to serve it through the discretion of the town board. Any other discussion?
No, I think,
I'm actually pretty excited, because we used to have a winter festival through the recreation department many, many years ago, and I think that was a huge hit for the community. I know when I was out talking to residents, a lot of them expressed wanting to, you know, see more from the ambulance department, to kind of get more involved in our community. And I think these festivals and possibly weekend events, bringing people into Hamlin, is a great opportunity to introduce them to what we have and what we can bring to the table.
and concerts, like, we could do a lot.
Absolutely.
Well, and I like the idea of working together with, fire departments, and so that everybody's kind of working together and you get dates
Yep.
organized, so we're not offsetting
Tripping
one
over
to
each
the other.
other. Yeah.
I think it's a good idea to have somebody spearhead those.
Plus it could help local businesses, really.
And I did talk with our state park here in Hamlin, the director of that, and she said that if we had the right permit, we had to get the permits and everything, that we could, and I've talked with our recreation director about that too, that we could have a winter festival down there. And you could have like snow ski, or not snow skiing, but cross-country skiing and snowshoeing or stuff like that, you know, down there. You got the lodges with a fire going in them and everything, so.
Yeah.
and I know that I, was planning on doing music in the park, during the summer. So this would be part of it, or,
We can, have the cultural committee work with you or whatever and everything. I'd like to have them in on it too, you know.
Is there already a lot of interest from locals to join this?
I've heard a lot of people
Yeah?
say, wishing that
Good.
we had, we don't have like a big summertime festival and stuff. I've heard a lot of people asking for that, so.
Yeah, I think that would help.
I see the Wheel Fest is coming back this year. Does this have anything to do with Wheel Fest?
No,
No.
I talked to the Wheel Fest committee and told them that because it was so political and everything, that we could have a festival, but it would not be called the Wheel Fest. Just to keep everything low-key, apolitical and everything. And I just found out last week myself, when I saw it on Facebook, that they are going ahead with it. It is not sponsored by the town of Hamlin. They're having it on their own. If they wanted to do that instead of working with us, then so be it. I tried to bring them in and stuff, and they said they went on their own, so it's like, okay.
I know we have the junk jamboree and cruising, and we had talked about eventually hoping to build that up, you know, include a parade, with that, and focus that as like a big event date, since
Yeah.
we've already had one. We were lucky, the weather was wonderful, but we had a great turnout,
We did,
a surprisingly great turnout.
we did.
Like say our council person, Angel, they'll be spearheading this, working with everybody, so. And I say maybe a parade, I thought, since we are a farming community, maybe you could go back to like antique tractors or whatever, having a parade with, have a farm day festival or
It's
whatever.
a great idea.
I think, yeah, that's actually the, I think, for the history and everything.
Yeah, we're just completely brainstorming right now as we bring the committee actually together and get started. I'm sure some great ideas will come out from the community.
Do you have members signed up already?
No,
No, we haven't even.
we didn't let them in until we had the form, because right
Yeah.
now there is no committee, so until this board votes. So no, nothing has been done, I've just been coming up with a few ideas, and I talked to the park, trying to see what our options may be.
It'd be nice to have like a big name concert band come in. We did it one year, I think, I'm trying to think, we did have a big name come in one year. Similar to what Hilton does during the festival. I mean, I think that helps. You know, it helps the businesses, it helps us.
Yeah, like I say, right now, we're just kicking ideas around until we actually form this committee, we'll.
Me and Molly had.
So
Remember?
what,
Yeah,
was there?
Molly
Molly
had
We
Hatchet.
had Molly Hatchet here. I'm like, I don't know who promoted it, but was it, I mean, I think that stuff is really good for the community.
So question, so like for instance now with the Halloween-a-thon that month, would that now have to go through that committee? Things like that?
No, you've already been doing that for years now. So I mean, you can, if you wanna work with the committee on it and stuff, but you've already been doing it for years, I'm not trying to do away with it or anything.
No,
like that.
well, I think it's a great idea because our big, pain point, let's say, is our volunteers. So if this is something that will create more volunteers, I'm all for it, because that's really where we hurt. We just don't have enough people. So if this is something that will then bring volunteers in general for all our events, that would be awesome.
Okay.
Nothing less than
Yeah,
awesome.
we're not looking to take away the Halloween ban or your October event. We're gonna.
Yep, okay, great,
I think other organizations might enhance it a little bit.
definitely,
Or, right, collaboration always
Right.
equals great ideas.
yeah, yeah. Cool. Let's do it.
Any other comments from the board?
I make a motion.
Your second then?
Oh, I'm a second.
Okay. Jaeger,
Yes.
Bogo. Yeah. Provo,
Yes.
Mayo,
Yes.
Dodds.
Yes. Requesting town board resolution to accept the proposal for Paychex HR Solutions Services. That's why Norm is sitting here too. We just had a meeting with them Friday, right? Thursday?
Last Thursday. So,
We have been a little lax, and well, I'm gonna tell you why. I asked Norm to start looking for this a couple months ago when I knew that I was gonna be the supervisor, because the highway and up here and stuff, and I admit it, we're a little lax in some of our training and stuff for sexual harassment, workplace violence, bloodborne pathogen, whatever, your state mandated. And, if pests should ever come in and we don't have our stuff, it's like $10,000 fine per incident. So I said, well, all right, let's form a thing that we can get training and stuff. So Norm talked to Paychex, and they actually do this training plus a lot more.
so they'll load all the training on their system, and the employees will log into the system. Everybody will have to get a Paychex Flex account, which is easy to do. And the training can be coordinated per group. So like highway has certain training that they have to do, but the rest of us don't. You can plug in all the highway training, then the guys will get reminders that go in and do this training. Anki, like the lodge, they do the bloodborne pathogens and some other ones because of the kids. It would be, and the library would be segregated them, but then there would be the general training that everybody has to have. So that's part of it, is the training. Next part is hiring people. They have an onboarding process. So when somebody comes in and puts an application, if we're gonna offer them a job, they'll get an email from Paychex to create an account, and they'll go in and start plugging in their information. So we're not chasing all these paper forms and keep going after people to bring in something that they missed. It'll all be held online. It'll all be there in the system. And they cannot do anything until they complete step A, then they go to step B, then they go to step C. You can't jump around. So until they complete everything, they can't start. And there's a lot with what they're offering. But with that, there is a cost. So the cost is, like on this piece of paper, it tells you it's about $12.60 a month. So it's about $15,200 for the year. And we're somewhere, and it fluctuates because the way Paychex does it, they charge you per paycheck each time you do a payroll. So as we fluctuate how many paychecks we have, when we're bringing people on in the winter and we're losing some of the summer help and then we're losing the winter help, you know, that'll go up and down a little bit. But you pay on a per paycheck charge, and we're a little bit different because we have actually two companies. We have a bi-weekly payroll and a monthly payroll, so it's formed as two companies. But the proposal and everything they do is in here, but so they'll keep track of all the I-9s. The information will be right there for when we come in and get audited for our I-9s. But there's a lot of information that they'll do. We'll have our own HR representative that we'll contact, which will be kind of the leader. Our paycheck person will get a more senior payroll person, so we're not changing payroll reps as frequently as we do now. We'll have they already do our health care, so that part of it is already there. But it's just bringing everything together all under one roof. But with the COVID and everything else, I mean, we were getting anywhere from 3 to 8 updates a month on different COVID rules for the handbook. Our employee handbook will be online. As soon as there's an update, if it's something that's critical, an email will go out to all the employees telling them what the update is. If it's not as critical, then it'll be the next year or the next month, whenever the handbook is updated. But everything will be right there for the employee. They can go in and see it all. It'll be right there for us from a standpoint. But to me, it's a good service to have. It'll streamline our training, get us better on track for training, better record keeping, better employee when we're hiring somebody. All that information will be streamlined and held there.
Norm, what's the difference between what it's costing us now to this then?
It'll be about a $10,000 increase, between $9,000 and $10,000. But if you look at it, the town of Ogden, for instance, they average about 20 more paychecks per payroll than what we do now. And they have a full-time HR person, and that person's paid $80,000 a year. And they also have a full-time financial person, which is paid another $80,000 a year. So this will be $15,000 a year. And it's a good start to get us where we need to be.
My other question, Norm, when you're doing employee training online, and Mike, maybe you can answer, as far as the highway department goes, is there accessibility to a computer for the guys to do that? Or
when we've done things in the past, we have a flat screen in the break room that we can put it on and have everybody.
So everybody be doing it at the same time?
Yeah.
So
But you won't be able
you
to.
can do that. They can set it up so that you can have everybody in the room and do it all together, and then there's a way to log them in that they all did it, or they can do it at their leisure. If they're downtime and they want to do it, or if they're home and they want to do it, they can do it. They can log in at any time and do the required training. But you can also set it up. They do have, because of COVID, they stopped the on-site, but they will do Zoom meeting trainings if you want to do that, where they'll track and then they'll go in and log the training done. So there is a lot of opportunities for the training.
Would that work for highway?
We can, what they said is if we decide to go with them, and then we start building the training, we'll build whatever we need, and they can make it work for however we need it.
And each department would have their, like Mike would be the
So Mike would,
administrator of the highway department.
yes,
Anki would be the administrator of the rec department.
Christine for library, and they'll get notifications if your employees haven't done the training. They'll say, hey, they haven't done this.
Is this now for those small trainings that we have to do, like harassment or something
Yes,
like that?
it's for everything, for any training you want to do with them.
Well, I have to go to the Red Cross to do, the one training that we have, as far as rec is concerned, is first aid, but we can't really do that through them, can we?
No.
You can,
can?
you might be able to, I don't know, we'll have to check, because they said they do CPR and first aid training on there.
Yeah, I didn't understand that as well. I'm
Yeah.
not sure, but we
Yeah.
could have them explain it to us better once,
Right.
if we had it set up.
I currently spend about $115 per new employee right now on training, that's it. So it's,
Yeah,
I mean, that's it, it's not a lot, and they only do it once every 2 years. So I don't know what other kinds of trainings on a regular basis we would utilize.
Sexual harassment, workplace violence.
well, it's not
done every year by
it's
state
harassment
law.
training now.
Oh,
It's harassment training, it's all your chemical training,
okay,
which
All right.
everybody is supposed to have.
okay.
Airborne pathogens.
Yeah, there's a ton of trainings that,
The state mandates every year now.
yeah,
So
Okay.
how would that affect the seasonal employees? I mean,
they would still have to do the training when they come in. And so the way it's set up is if an employee hasn't worked for 3 months, seasonal, every time they come back, they'd have to do that training. But the training is good for a year. So it's kind of a gray area as to when they come back.
Yeah.
But all the trainings are based on 1 year. But technically, from what they told us, is after 3 months, if an employee hasn't worked for 3 months, then they're technically a new employee and they're supposed to fill out a whole new packet.
Oh, really?
Yes. And they said that's the law.
So if some of my summer people come back only in the summer, they have to do a whole new
They're supposed
packet
to do a whole new packet
of trainings or employee?
of both.
Oh my gosh, okay.
would that cut down on some of your costs, Honky?
We haven't been doing them yearly. We've only been doing them as they come in.
Yeah.
And then the majority of them haven't really cost us anything. The only thing that really costs us anything is the first aid.
Well, the cost is your time and doing the training and whatever, and paying them to do it, even though you might not.
Yeah, we'll reimburse them the mileage,
But
stuff like that.
you're gonna pay regardless.
Yeah.
No matter who does it or whatever. This is just a better tracking system for the training. It's a better onboarding process for them to make sure they have all their correct paperwork in so that we can move forward. And we're with an actual HR professional that will be assigned to us for any needs for us or for the employee. It also includes the EAP, Employee Assistance Program. But there's a lot more to that than just, I guess if you think about big companies, when they say EAP, everybody thinks about drug and alcohol and about maybe divorce and mental health, but there is more to that. There's a lot of other things that they offer in that, which is a benefit for the employees that they don't charge for. It's just part of what they do. So there's it takes you through everything and
Make sure we're meeting all the
yes,
regulations.
Yeah.
basically.
because it can be very costly if we're missing on any of them.
So because we didn't budget for this, so how do you think this would fit into the budget? Would you charge each department's budget for their segment of the HR? So is it gonna come from departmental budgets or?
I think for the first year, we just budget it all through general and we see where we're at. Because we'll just make a budget amendment. And I think the smartest thing to do would be to do a budget amendment and make up a separate line item for payroll account. and keep track of the cost and see where we're at. And then we can look at breaking it all out. Right now, we do charge the paycheck fees to highway, to general, to library. But because we haven't, especially like library, that would be a big hit on them because they only get a certain amount of money and then they gotta budget it and they're pretty tight, so. I'm thinking until we see all the benefits and we get this streamlined the way we want it, it would be best to just create an account and budget it all through general for right now.
Oh, is there a set contract for this?
There is no contract, you can end at any time. There is no, well, we signed a contract for them to do it, but you can stop it at any time if you want. And what he recommended to us is you're getting the, for lack of a better term, the platinum package. But if 6 months down the road, you find out there's certain things you're not using, we may be able to renegotiate and say, okay, we're not using these things. Can we renegotiate the price? But to try and do it piecemeal right now, to bring in things on a piecemeal basis, not knowing everything is really not the way to go until we see what we have.
Aren't a lot of those trainings provided, like the bloodborne pathogens and harassment and stuff, aren't they provided for free by the state? Can't you access them online for free? I mean, there's so many programs online that you can access free training.
You might be able to, there are probably some, like, I know you can actually go through patch.
But I don't think they're doing, they're coming out either because of COVID. A lot of the people stopped coming out because of COVID.
Yeah, they're not coming up, but then.
Then you're trying to do Zoom meetings and get everybody, this is just a better way to track it.
You're trying to track your employees and make sure they do it. You have one employee who doesn't do it.
I mean.
So how is Paychex gonna make them do it?
Well, we're gonna know, and then you're gonna have to.
I mean,
You're still gonna have to track them down then.
You're gonna have to track them down, and you're gonna have to have the, but you could, technically, that's grounds for termination if you're not doing your training. I mean.
Well, that always has been the case, so it wouldn't be something new with Paychex.
Right, no, it's not, nothing new with Paychex, but it's an easier way to track it all to see who's doing it. I mean, didn't you just do a resolution to extend training, 4 hours training for your boards, because they didn't do any of their 4-hour training last year?
We did.
So.
What does that have to do with it?
well, that could be part of the training.
That's part of, everybody will be in this
We can track
system.
all the support boards and know
All the
if
support
they're
boards,
doing
everybody will be
4-hour
there.
training.
It's sort of
Including you guys.
really disorganized. I mean, I've got this in another agency. It's just fun, you know, they take care of really everything.
Yes,
Right.
And they keep track, and they'll send you, if you're
an admin.
administrator, they'll send you a thing like so-and-so, like I get those all the time. They do their trainings, these are the people that need to do their training, so they put you in real time on what people need to do.
And like I said, we can use it for the support boards also to make sure they do their 4-hour training. There'll be
Everybody,
no more extending it, because you can say, all right, you haven't done this, you need to do it, or.
It basically gives accountability.
yes.
Yes.
And it gives a paper trail, and it gives everything you need for.
Everybody that gets a paycheck will be on this system and will be tracked.
It's trying to keep us out of trouble with the state, because we are lax in some of our training, and we need to get up to date and better at it.
And as soon as something is changed, it immediately goes out to everyone. So I don't think any of us really know what the COVID protocols are right now, because they keep changing them every day. But that'll all go out as they change that stuff. It all goes out to the employees whenever there's a change. And if it's critical, it's an email that goes out to everyone.
And right now, you and Darlene are managing this, or who's managing?
Not very well.
Because you just don't have time, or you can't manage it?
It's too much to keep track of.
Yeah, because HR is expensive. So
HR,
this is
yeah,
easier.
extremely expensive.
Right.
How many employees total?
We average 45 paychecks about on a bi-weekly and another dozen on the monthly.
So.
And then
60
twice a year on the monthly, it's 26, 28.
So you're talking 65, 70 people trying to manage to make sure
Yeah.
they do their training every year by a certain date and make.
And it's not just the training, but it's the whole process, the onboarding, making sure you use all the right forms for when you're hiring somebody. I mean, it's hard enough right now with trying to get our payroll certified because with civil service. I mean, that's a fight that usually takes all year in order to get that done because they don't like the way people are coded. So that's an ongoing process that we have all year.
So say we opt out of this at some point because we realize it's not working for us, what happens to all those records that Paycheck has? Does the town have ownership of those?
That's a question we'll have to ask, I'm sure it is.
Training everyone's HR documents, because that's something we want like in-house.
Right,
Even after someone leaves, just to have a record.
right. They are our records, so I'm sure we'll get a copy, but that's a question we can ask.
He said, I asked Norm to do this, and I said, just because I think the way that things are running, I think this, I know it's an extra cost, but I think it far outweighs what could happen if we don't go into the 21st century and update our stuff here and just rely on the way it was 50, 60 years ago. Those days are done, we need to update.
I mean, it's hard enough, right now, we're supposed to keep an employee records, the files, to a year after they die. So we can't get rid of anything, that's why we have so many filing cabinets. Payroll records we have to keep for 55 years. So, I mean, it's easy to lose something in the system with all those payroll records, well, all the records that you're keeping. I-9s have to be kept someplace separate, they can't be kept with the employee file. So this just streamlines everything will be online and it'll be right there.
So yeah, I guess if you have to keep things for that long, I would definitely make sure that they're gonna somehow provide the town with digital.
They'll provide us, just like if we ended our contract with CE Tech, everything that's in the cloud for our financials will be all downloaded to disks and given to us to do whatever with.
Yeah, in the end, it's our data.
Yeah, it's all our data, so yeah, it won't go away. They can't erase it.
Yeah, I think it'd be worth trying for a year and see how it goes. And
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Do we have, okay, we didn't have a motion yet, okay.
I second.
Jaeger,
Yeah.
Boco,
Yes.
Robert,
yes,
Mayo,
Yes.
Buzz.
Yes,
So the next step, I'll contact Jim, and he'll be in contact with us, and then we'll get started. And it's not something that's gonna, things will get moving, but it'll take a few months to get everything set up.
and we can give maybe more information too, or give you guys more information. This is the small packet.
Yeah,
The packet that they're gonna have with all their stuff is like
Dick.
thick.
So,
We just decided for this meeting, that'd be way too much. All right, let's move on then to reports. Councilperson Jaeger.
So why don't I talk about the dog?
Yes, in your report,
in
yes,
the report.
absolutely.
So for the dog shelter, we're looking at just only handling the towns of Parma, Sweden, and Clarkson, obviously ourselves, and opting out of these other agreements we've had with Riga, Chi-Li Gates, Webster, Penfield, Pittsburgh, and Wheatland. We've had very little, we get very little dogs from them, and it's always been a issue, because then we adopt them out, and So we're just gonna focus on the towns that are closest to us, which are Parma, Sweden, and Clarkson. So we're gonna have to make a resolution to opt out of the other towns. Any questions about that, or?
Who was the town that was wondering if we were gonna renew?
I don't know.
There's been a couple of them, Riga,
I had Chi-Li call, they
Chi-Li.
didn't know anything about it.
and there's been a couple of, the supervisors have all been talking about it because Lollipop Farm quit taking dogs.
Right, yeah.
Unless you pay them a fee. So we're gonna have a supervisors meeting and everybody's talking to Lollipop Farm now and we'll see.
Riga, we only had one dog, in China, we only had two the whole time, so, you know,
In a year or in?
Last year.
last year. I mean, it's not like a lot.
But they're all pit bulls mostly that they were bringing
Right.
to us, dogs that are harder to adopt out and you only got $20 per dog.
Yeah.
Is what these towns are paying us, and if you keep the dog for a month trying to adopt it out, it's not really cost effective.
Have these towns been notified of our?
I did not notify them yet, which I wish we had, but until we actually have this where we're opting out of the service, I don't wanna notify them.
It's a lot of.
It'd be premature. So they will be notified this week. We'll send letters out tomorrow or the next day, once we pass this, if we pass this.
So if Lollipop's not taking them, do you think we would get busier with the other towns? Do they send some of their dogs to Lollipop? I mean, you just said other towns are.
Right
concerned.
now, I see Lollipop, from what I'm hearing, is that Lollipop may do it. They're trying to get a consensus with a whole bunch of towns. To, if they get a big enough consortium and enough money, say like each town has to pay $2,000-3,000, and it's gonna be a year, it's not per dog. It's like every town's gonna pay a big fee per year, and so many towns are balking at that.
Right.
But they may all do it too. There may not be another choice. It's up in the air right now, but
I mean, most of the towns, we haven't received any dogs from, so I mean, it's not, I mean, we don't, I mean, we have a part-time dog control officer, right? It's not like a full-time job. We can't keep on extending stuff to make this job bigger than it really is.
I guess if we're not getting dogs though, I mean, it's good to have intermunicipal agreements, to have good relationships with other municipalities. So I guess if we're not really getting a ton of dogs, what's the harm in having our contract for the occasional one or two that does come in per year?
Because I just don't know if we can handle it. I just don't, I think this was, it took a while to figure that we probably should have done.
and Joel and I talked to Dave too, we both did, and, last year was low. And he said that these numbers were just from last year, they were low because of COVID. He said they will rise, the other towns. He said the year before was more than this, but he didn't have the records right on hand. Didn't let us know how many, but like I say, we are only part-time, and I don't think the other towns will hate us that bad because we don't know. And like I say, they're mostly pit bulls. They're not bringing us nice little Shih Tzu puppies and stuff. They're bringing us pit bulls that they can't get rid of.
Dogs they can't get rid of.
Yeah, if Lollipop isn't gonna take them, then it could be overwhelming for our
Right.
dog control officer.
And volunteer staff.
Yeah, it's not, I mean, probably at one time we thought it was a good idea. I just think it could be.
I think they got overwhelmed.
Right.
Everybody thought, oh, this would be a nice idea, and then all of a sudden it came down to the actual work,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like overwhelming. It's like, okay, we bit off more than what we could chew.
But we have to opt out before we can send others, so.
Okay.
So you want me to read the resolution? And then we can-
Unless there's more discussion, like I said, is there any more discussion, or?
No, I don't have any more questions. I guess I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around, if we're only getting one or two dogs, how it's too much work.
Because it could go up.
I mean, I guess it could potentially, but how many years, I guess I would need more information. How many years have we been doing it with them? How many dogs have come in to each town throughout the year?
3 or 4 years now, and I don't know,
This is before I was getting one, I know that.
Well, we had, with this many towns, it hasn't been that long, but they've had more, there has been more dogs, and like I say, how many extra towns is there, Joel, 5 or 6? And so say you're only
Yeah.
talking maybe 2 extra dogs once COVID lifts or something per town. At 6 towns is 12 extra dogs, and if they're all pit bulls and you can't get rid of them,
Right.
or can't adopt them out, then what do? And we hold on to them for months.
Right, because we stick with it.
Because they're
No
gonna stay,
shelter.
yeah, we're a no-kill shelter, so we hold
Some
on
of
to
these
them
dogs are
for
very
months,
difficult to place.
and we're not set to do that. We're trying to make it viable.
Yeah, I don't want them to be overwhelmed, but I also just think it's a good idea to have those relationships with other towns.
Yeah, I'm just not sure if this is the relationship we should be having with the dog shelter, you know, I mean, I agree, but it doesn't have to be with a dog shelter.
I mean, the highway department, and I was there, and Mike can tell you too, that all those towns we've written out, we've worked with them, we've had Wheatland. So, I mean, the town has relations with Riga, Wheatland, we call them in to help the highway department. We have for years now, so we are friendly with all the towns with the highways, but we all work together in Monroe County, so. That, in that respect, we are friends with all the towns, so it's not like we're totally, like I said, Mike's been there too, and worked with all of these guys, knows all the superintendents by name, and we've been out here in other Greece.
I think it's important we're good at what we do, no matter what facet or what foot we're putting forward in Hamlin. And if the dog control officer feels that 7 or 8 towns accepting dogs is not the best way to make sure that we're connecting in the community, we need to bring it back, refocus ourselves, and make sure we're doing great at a smaller level.
Because we're still keeping Parma, Sweden, and Clarkson. We are. Which makes sense, because it's the right dog.
And actually, how many dogs?
So Sweden, we had 17 dogs just along in Sweden, so 8 dogs from Parma, 3 from Clarkson.
13
last
with
year?
Hamlin. Yeah, for last year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we had 13 and 17 is 30. We had almost 40 dogs just with ourselves and the other 3 towns last year.
Right.
So you're talking
And
a
that's
bunch
fine.
of dogs with just those 4, with us and the 3
And he
towns.
felt that was manageable, so.
Well, that's more dogs than I thought he was getting from Parma and Sweden. How many from Clarkson last year?
17 from Sweden. So, 8 dogs from Parma. Do any other discussion?
No, let's do the resolution then.
Okay, requesting town board resolution to opt out of the agreement between the town of Hamlin and the towns of Riga, Chi-Lai, Gates, Webster, Penfield, Pittsburgh, and Wheatland for the purpose of accepting shelter dogs.
A second.
I can make one.
I'll still second.
Jaeger,
Yes.
Folko,
Yes.
Hurlbut,
Yes.
Nail,
Yes.
Buzz.
Yes. Any other reports, Joel?
Sure. So, the library, they're doing it's really interesting. So other than during COVID, they've been having increased numbers, but they're also starting a program called Taught to Teach, which is a new thing where, let's say if you're dealing with farms or like your discussions, like a person has a farm, they're putting together these packages of books about farms, and the idea is you'll use Taught to teach everything. So if you're at the firehouse, you're teaching kids. If you're at a farm, you're teaching kids. And then there's resource material available. So let's say we're going to a farm today. They're going to provide, you can say, well, I need a package of farm stuff. There'll be books all about farming. or the highway department, we have books about trucks and plows and things like that. And there's all these kind of subjects, and they're gonna be doing this countywide the idea is to try to get the kids' face away from the phone and to have actually discussion between parents and their children in every possible environment that they're in. So if they're grocery store, we're going to the grocery store today, we're gonna do the talk, teach model, and then there's books about the grocery store, where they get the produce, how the process goes. So it's a pretty exciting kind of thing. They're using the new CD repair machine. It's actually working out well. I'll give you so the program count is up from, in 2020, so the total participants up to now is 1552, and last year it's already 2354. So that's how many people are actually using monitoring coming out. So it's an increase it's up. As far as the dog shelter, I know the food cover is doing really well, but they're also looking again for donations for cat food, dog food, treats, because we're actually using it quite a bit now, which makes sense because a lot of people are struggling and need to take care of their families. So that's about it.
Okay. Councilperson Volker.
Okay, zoning board of appeals, it was actually kind of a quiet meeting with only one agenda item, which a public hearing was scheduled for this month. It's for Michael and Rachel Black down on Shore Acres. They want to put a shed on the south side of the street, so on the lots that are on the pond side. So they need variances for having no principal dwelling, minimum lot size, and minimum lot width. So there will be a public hearing next week for that. Let's see here, Chamber of Commerce. Okay. I think I told you about this last meeting, but they did have their first meeting in 2 years. On December 8th, a drop-in breakfast at the Arlington in Hilton. And their goal is really to try to gain some momentum up through 2022 for their big fundraiser, which is the Apple Fest. Their next event is February 2nd, and it's a lunch, and the board will meet on Wednesday, January 19th. Assemblyman Josh Jensen secured COVID-19 test kits and N95 masks, which he's going to be distributing through the area chambers, and then the chamber can distribute them to the businesses in the chamber. The History Center. So Dave and I we're gonna wait for spring to come to get some painting quotes. We were gonna get 3 quotes, because we might not need 3 or something. We might have spoken to you about that. Mike, he says, thank you very much. You guys did a really, really nice job. He said on the floor of the stone barn that it looks great. And once the weather gets a little better, he's gonna work on the stone in the front of that building, and then hopefully get some of the display going inside. He's working on printing a copy of a book written by a man named Robert Elliott. The book is called Agent of Death. Elliott was born in Hamlin in 1874, and he became, this is kind of creepy, he became the chief electrician or executioner for New York State and surrounding states from 1926 to 1939. So,
Wow.
kind of creepy, but he wanted to get an original copy of the book for the History Center, but the cheapest he could find was like almost $550 on Amazon, so he's just getting a print of it. And that is it for the History Center. One more thing with the chamber, I forgot. I'm collaborating with Anki a little bit because she sends out letters for sponsorships for rec each year, and so I asked her if there's a way I could put in a letter from the chamber to hopefully increase some of the membership for Hamlin. So for all her sponsors, for rec programs, they can get a chamber invitation application letter. So she's gonna attach that to her sponsorship. And that was it.
Okay. Councilperson Mayo.
Well, since I've just started,
Yeah.
I have reached out to all my liaisons. Adam's actually here. So we talked to the ambulance about having a, kind of open house meet and greet between the town board and the ambulance and setting that up yearly. Just so we each get to know each other, we know what they're working on, we kind of know what their goals are and where they hope to move to. And Adam can give you his official totals for the month.
So, I don't have anything for January right now. We do have the end of year for 2021. We did a total of 1,063 calls, which, comparing that to 2020, we did 743. And for the entire 2020, right. Okay. Well then, that works. We've seen it's just an increase of all around calls. It's not just COVID calls, but just general sickness calls. We've also seen a lot of, we've seen more mutual aid calls. I'd say from June on, we've been averaging about 30% of our calls monthly have been mutual aid calls. And that's just going towards the healthcare crisis. I mean, everybody's hurting. Everybody's struggling with short staffing. We're finding ourselves helping our neighbors a little bit more than we have in the past. Between the hospitals, overcrowding, reaching capacity. Last week, FEMA had 2 ambulances come up from Batavia, and they were last Thursday night, they were taking calls in Monroe County. They didn't take any calls in Hamlin, but they've been bouncing around helping other agencies in Monroe County, just because we're finding crews. On top of the short staffing, we have crews being delayed at all the hospitals, just waiting to offload patients to get them into beds. Doesn't look like it's going to improve anytime soon. We're looking at least it's going to be another couple months of rough going. Hopefully by spring, things will start to even out, but we're really just buckling down right now. Just kind of riding out the storm. But as I was talking to Angel via email, I would like to look probably end of February to do something, just kind of get everybody together. I know we did something similar. I want to say it was like 2 years ago. It was right before we went to ALS, providing ALS services. I want to do something similar to that. We have new board members. People who didn't really go through the spiel, do something a little different, add some numbers since we're going on 2 years this month. Actually, it was 2 years on the 7th of being an ALS agency, so we can provide some information on that because we've been trying to keep records of how many calls we're going on, how often we're being utilized within the town of Hamlin, where our call volume is, and the reimbursements from the health insurance companies, because those, spoiler alert, are horrible. Still, they've been getting worse, especially with COVID, which all the ambulance agencies are struggling with that as well. I believe the last I checked, Medicare is reimbursing 22% and Medicaid's at 15%. So it's everybody's kind of going through the struggle of being able to stay operating, and dealing with increased call volume, dealing with increased between staff just leaving EMS in general, as well as getting sick, being out with COVID. We're seeing more staff, more employees are going through, are contracting COVID from various locations, being out for, now it's changed to 5 days, but originally it was a 10-day isolation. So, that's about the long and short of it.
So a little shout out to you guys. Fundraisers you got planned, or?
So we're probably going to do another we're probably gonna do another open house in May. It'll be EMS week. I'm gonna confirm those dates once I see when EMS week is. We are planning on doing more fundraisers this year. The board, we got 2 new board members. I haven't met them yet. But they're starting up this year. The board's trying to look at newer opportunities for fundraising, newer events that we can be doing. We did another holiday raffle this past year, which I'm happy to say that I did not have most of my family members winning, so that was a plus. So we changed it up. Instead of one general drawing where we drew 10 different items, it was a day, and we did it was like a 25 days of drawings, where every day we'd have a drawing either at the Hamlin base or out at the Albion base. We draw a prize that day and just keep going until Christmas Day, which would be like the grand prize, which I think this year was a $250 gift certificate. And then what we do is we did Facebook Live. We're talking this year about doing the entire month of December, so it'd be 31 days of drawing. So we're still kicking around the idea of doing some more fundraisers, different fundraisers.
Your letter drive.
And the letter drive, yeah. So letter drive is the other fundraiser we did. That just went out, I want to say beginning of December. The letters went out. I don't have any numbers on those yet. Usually we do pretty well. We get a lot of support from the community with the letter drives. So we're grateful for.
I thought the holiday Facebook Live was fun every day. It was like, it was really quick, it was done really well, and every day I was like, okay, let me see. Never got my name out, but that's okay.
Yeah, we had a lot of good feedback. We had a lot of good feedback on that, on doing the daily drawings.
Yeah.
And
I think the cat got more airtime.
yeah, the cat got a lot of airtime. the cat was very
He was
popular.
gonna start pulling the tickets. He was in the box some days.
Yep. So we'll see.
The town has a newsletter that goes out once a month.
Mhm.
So if you have anything like that, that would be something great to go in the
Okay.
newsletter.
Yeah.
Just email me.
Oh,
I'll give you my
absolutely.
email afterwards if you want.
And to get on the community calendar.
Yeah.
That's big too.
No, absolutely. With all these, I mean, that's the next step is just to
Because
try
I
to.
didn't know anything about this Facebook Live.
Yeah, even just to grow it out, because I know we did a lot of, this past year, a lot of it was trying to just spread the message through Facebook. Now we're gonna, if we can go through different mediums to get the word out, to try to draw on more people, get more people interested in buying tickets and coming to the open house too. That'd be the other one.
Okay.
Do you know anything about, I saw on the news that they're gonna start routing 911's gonna route calls to nurses?
Yes,
To help take
actually.
off some of the burden off of ambulance
Yes.
services?
So they're calling it. So it's a nurse navigation program. Stand up. It's a nurse navigation program. It is being run through. So the agency is GMR, Global Medical Response. They bought out AMR, American Medical Response. So the whole goal behind the nurse navigation system, or we're going to call it nurse nav system, is when somebody calls 911, every call that goes through 911 gets coded. They changed the coding back early last year because we switched to a different CAD system. So now everything's labeled ALS-A, ALS-B, BLS-C, BLS-D. So there's 4 different types of codes. And it's all based off of telecommunicators talking to the person calling 911, going to a triage report with them, and then going through with EMD coding, which is emergency medical dispatching. So they'll go through that coding, and then they will determine if it's a BLSD, which is the lowest priority, or if it's an ALSB. Determine the the priority of the call. If it's a BLSD, what they're gonna do with the nurse navigation system is they're gonna take those calls, they're gonna be rerouted to a nurse dispatching center. I believe they said the dispatch center is in Texas, but right now they're doing the same system with Washington, D.C. and DeKalb County, Georgia. So when that person calls the nurse and talks to the nurse at that center, the nurse is gonna go through a more in-depth triage with the person calling 911, figuring out what exactly is going on. They'll determine, does this person really need to go to a hospital? Do they really need an ambulance? Or is this something that they can go to their primary care physician and see? Is it something they can go to an urgent care to see? And then they're going to go the next step. The next step is this nurse center will actually contact patient's primary care physician. They'll contact urgent cares. They'll set up an appointment for whoever's calling 911. And if that person needs a ride to the hospital, they will contact either Uber or Lyft. And they'll have everything set up. The goal of this is to take the lower priority calls, the people with the sniffles, sprained ankles, minor injuries, who are going to the hospitals and are waiting in the waiting rooms for probably up to 6 to 8 hours, depending on which hospital they go to. Taking them out of the hospitals, still getting them care, but at a more appropriate facility that will be able to treat them immediately. If they need to be prescribed any medication, prescribe medication at that office, and then be able to send them home. And again, the goal is to help kind of reduce the number of people that are going to the hospital, especially the ones that are focusing more on the ones going to the hospital who don't need to be in the hospital. What they have assured us is that if somebody calls 911 and they're adamant they want a hospital or an ambulance, they want to go to the hospital, the nurse dispatcher will turn the call back over to Monroe County 911, and Monroe County 911 will dispatch an ambulance. If the nurse is doing a triage with that person, and as they're talking to them realizes they need an ambulance, they need a hospital, they shouldn't be talking to me, they'll send that call back to Monroe County 911, and any calls they send back, they add notes onto the call. So that dispatcher will be able to see, as that call populates on their screen, notes from the nurse in that dispatch center saying why this call got kicked back to them. It got coded wrong, this person really needs to go to a hospital, or this person just adamantly refuses, says they want to go to the hospital, they want to go by ambulance. And then Monroe County 911 will turn around and dispatch that call. From what GMR has said, from what the representatives have said, if these calls are getting turned around like that, it's averaging about 2 minutes. So there's not like an hour between that person called 911, got sent to the nurse nav dispatchers, and then sent back to 911. So for us, they looked through Monroe County 911, the ECD, Emergency Communications Department. They looked through their numbers and came up with every EMS agency in the county for October 1st to October 31st. And they had the number of calls that we were dispatched on, how many of those calls would have gone through the nurse navigation center. For Hamlin, it would have been 3. So it's not really impacting us a lot. Where it does impact us, though, is with Monroe and AMR. Monroe had about 160 calls. AMR had about 500. What that means for us is that if they are going on those calls, they're able to cover their other calls. We're not getting pulled out of Hamlin as often to go mutual aid for those agencies. So it's free. So it translates into freeing up ambulances to be able to go to the higher priority calls and keeping us in the town of Hamlin and not going out. So we usually have just one ambulance on 24/7. So, and we're at for a large a large area. I haven't heard, they had it postponed when it was gonna start. I haven't heard an official date yet. It might have come out on the news recently, but I'm not 100% sure. I know they did have to postpone it. Yeah, so that's something that, and hopefully, I mean, in order to fix the problems that we have right now with hospital overcrowding, the staffing shortages, and just being busy, it's gonna take a number of different solutions. There's no silver bullet to fixing any of this. But programs like this nurse navigation program is a start. It's a good step in the right direction. You know, and hopefully it keeps from a complete free fall.
Great, thank
So,
you.
yeah, so I got it.
Thank you. That was all this information we've been getting is from Adam Meyer, who is with our Hamlin ambulance, so. Anything else?
I am meeting the liaison for Hamlin seniors in the Hilton Parma Fire Department later this month, and Clark is here if you'd like to give an update from the Conservation Board from December. Anything new?
No.
No. So that's it.
Okay. Councilperson Grover.
Just a quick question for the con, have we had any applications for the?
One just came in today.
Yay.
And another one came in and asked questions and took the paperwork.
Oh.
So hopefully that one will come back.
I got, Hamlin Morton Walker Fire District meeting was on the 22nd, and as of then, they had 525 calls year to date. They did want to pass along thanks to the Highway Department for the cooperation with the parking lots. They turned out good. Everybody's happy with that and wanted to pass along a big thank you to the Highway Department. Other thing that was brought up there that I have, when I was at the planning board, I passed it along. There was a question on the solar projects that are going around in the town, and if they could be made aware as these projects come forward, maybe to put in the special use permit, a yearly visit with the fire department, say if there's a grass fire and something where there's a procedure where the fire company knows who to contact and knows what the procedure is gonna be as far as what's going on inside that solar facility. So it's just something to be considered as we go down that path. So I pass that along to the planning board. At the planning board meeting, there's a commercial site plan application for Vince Ritelli on the Sandy Creek Marina again. Planning board was looking for a phasing time, and that was tabled into next month's meeting. There's a special use permit application for 251 Lake Road, West Fork. Basically, he wanted to add a single apartment to a single family dwelling, and that's scheduled for a public hearing for next month's February 7th meeting. And then Next Era Energy was there for 1764 Walker Lake, Ontario Road, for special use permit application for a large-scale solar energy system, and also a property split because there's a primary residence on the property, so they'd have to divide that out. And that property subdivision needs to happen before the special use permit, and right now the planning board has requested to be the lead agency as that plan moves forward. And that's all I've got.
Thank you. Mike Chairman, our highway superintendent.
Obviously, we've been switching over to some snow and ice programs, and crew's still been out. We're still taking down ash trees around town in our right away and even property that the town owns, and hope to get in the park and take these trees off the north side that are behind all these houses on Apple Hollow some point this winter. We've been plugging away at snow fences. We can get out in the mud and do it. The guys did take care of Dave's concern with a new fixture on the dog shelter. Went through the things with Jason down there at North Hamlin and Walker Lake, and Maureen's gonna draft up a temporary easement so we can get in and remove the debris that's blocking that creek. So we'll get that taken care of very soon. I talked to the homeowner today, who was very receptive to not having his property flooded either. That's about it.
Building inspector Cheryl Sellers.
Okay, in the past month, the department issued 14 permits. Not much of a permit cost. It was mainly for like roofs or little sheds, over $1,000, but the valuation was over $425,000 for the town. 17 permits have been closed. That also includes certificate of occupancies and certificate of appliances. Still had pretty good phone calls in the office, 192. The department sent out 21 violation notices for various code violations and complaints. And I am registered for the Flaboa Annual Educational Conference, March 14th, 15th, and 16th, but we're still waiting to see if it's going to be held due to COVID-19. And that's it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Our recreation director, Anki.
Okay, so I'm going to start with just a quick rundown about a course that I would like to run this spring. I've given everybody some handouts, including some articles about co-housing. This is going to be a 10-week workshop designed to enable seniors to become aware of the issues of aging and housing, becoming proactive, learn the benefits of co-housing communities. At the end of this workshop, seniors will be empowered with information to make the best decisions for their ultimate recreation goal, retirement. The workshop will run at $55 per person, $60 per couple for Hamlin residents, $100 per person, $105 per couple for non-residents. The course, I didn't write this here, will include a workbook for participants, which looks like this. This goes with the 10-week course. And they will be asked to follow up with various kinds of readings, including articles like the ones I've attached as support information and more. Just to go into what is co-housing, it's not anything like a commune. It's nothing like that. It's really nor are households in any way financially connected to one another. Each residence is independently owned. Co-housing communities are small housing developments containing 15 to 25 households that are designed by the residents themselves to facilitate maximum interaction between the residents. The residents themselves make all decisions regarding their community through regular meetings and consensual agreements. These communities have shared facilities such as a common house, which provides a large space for residents to meet regularly, and a large kitchen in order to cook and eat meals together, have parties, meetings, etc. All residences still have their own kitchens, are totally fully equipped, but designed in such a way to be more energy efficient, thereby cutting down on energy costs. These common houses often include a separate apartment for guests or for caregivers, whose fees can be shared amongst the residents of the community who require various levels of care. This is a lot cheaper than personal caregivers or assisted living facilities. Other common amenities could be woodworking studios, shared equipment of all kinds, let's say like lawnmowers, snow blowers, bicycles, swimming pools, even cars in some instances. It all depends really on the final price point per residence that the group is aiming for. The point of these small communities is to enable residents to age in place for as long as possible with a very high quality of life and to avoid the prohibitively priced institutionalized care options for as long as possible and often forever. By creating a neighborhood that encourages relationship amongst its residents, seniors have the opportunity to age successfully and remain in control of their lives, their connection to their friends, and don't suffer from the isolation and difficulties caused by living alone in an isolated house too large to care for. Many co-housing communities are built with a low-cost factor in mind in order to be accessible to more people. Participants in the workshop will learn the benefits of co-housing, such as increased socialization, mutual support, accessibility, aging in place, sharing common interests, and financial benefits compared to the traditional institutionalized options due to energy-efficient designs, shared services, and equipment. At the end of this workshop, participants will be able to better decide options for their future. They will also have formed relationships with other participants in the group, potentially creating a core group to form a co-housing community. Participants will be given a list of resources to follow up with in order to choose the right people to work with for the next phase, which would be getting it built. I'm providing some links there. Of course, with the paper, that's not going to work. You're going to have to type those in. I will be giving Patty Jo a PDF version so she can put this online. How will this workshop benefit the town of Hamlin? It will provide information for Hamlin seniors that would otherwise be difficult and expensive to obtain. Currently, these courses are running about $300 to $500 per person, and they're very hard to get to because there are very few facilitators in the country in general. This is a new thing going on. It's growing very, very rapidly. There is also multi-generational co-housing that is happening all over the country to explain the difference. With the senior co-housing, the agenda is the seniors. With multi-generational co-housing, the agenda really is kids. And there, when you have the households of different generations, very often the seniors who choose to live in a community like that serve as caretakers for the kids, often as tutors for the kids, and the kids who grow up in these little neighborhoods actually have a very well-rounded education, especially it's like a huge family they can go to for all kinds of things, for issues, even if the family has problems or if there's a single parent and needs help taking care of a child. So there's a lot of benefits in these communities, but I would like to focus on seniors at this point. I think it's a very valuable course. I also believe that I will be able to develop new relationships with more seniors in town, which could potentially help in being volunteers for any of our committees and our projects, and just being able to be more in touch with them. And with any co-housing community that is formed, and we have helped seniors stay in town, a town they love and they want to be in, be amongst their friends, their larger single-family homes will be made available to young families to move into, thereby increasing our town's population. So by keeping them here in a manner that's affordable rather than losing them to institutionalized care somewhere else. So it's really a course that I'm teaching, providing information to seniors if this is something that they would like to look into. And that's about all I would be doing, and then giving them the resources to follow up on that if that is something they would choose to do. There are a number of organizations in the United States now who provide the architects and the developers, and that would be up to them to see what they want to do. And there's a couple of just pictures there of some of the co-housing communities that have been created in the United States. And at the final page is the flyer for the seminar I would like to do for free, just to give an introduction to people if they would like to sign up for this course, what it's all about, pretty much talking for about an hour what I'm doing here in 5 minutes, so in more detail. So I hope you would let me do this course. I think it would provide some new information to seniors here, just as I'm doing sometimes art classes or cooking classes or whatever classes I can find that people would register for. I find that my biggest challenge as a recreation director here in Hamlin is getting valuable instructors to the town at a price that people can afford. Very often I can find the instructors, but then they set up the course and then nobody signs up because the cost is too prohibitive. And this is something I could offer on a regular basis. I could do these 10-week courses maybe once, twice a year, and just see what happens. You know, maybe it's something that people are interested in. Yeah. Does anybody have any questions about any of that?
Have you connected with Michelle Johnson?
Yeah, that's what my question.
I told her about it, but she hasn't.
What was her reception?
She
works
hasn't
with the
responded.
seniors, she's worked with them for years. I mean, she would be a good person to gauge interest from the seniors with.
She hasn't responded. She doesn't. She's not very communicative, really. I mean, I've told her about it, but.
Are you trying to attract a new group of seniors? I mean, that might be,
I'm
it
trying.
seems like a very, you have to be
Attract?
very progressive.
Attract to what?
It seems like are you trying to attract a new group of I understand what you're talking about. So the seniors group we have, and this is just me, I would consider them very conservative. This is a very progressive, it looks like a progressive kind of living arrangement I don't think that group would be a good, I don't know, I just know a lot of those seniors.
Right,
This is something that this is like right out of like Woodstock. This is like hippied up. I'm not saying it's bad, I'm saying that it's more progressive, and I think there might be a group of seniors out there that might say, wow, this is like a great idea, but when you tell them, no, it's Michelle.
But that's what I'm saying, I think
Right.
if Anki's trying to gauge interest, I mean,
Yeah.
Michelle Johnson would be, the person I
The
would
go-to
reach
for
out
that,
to,
yeah.
right, she's worked with the seniors for years, she knows them very well.
Uh-huh.
I mean, she would be the one, I don't know personally if a class like that, I mean, she works with them every month, sometimes a couple times a month. She would be the person that would say, yeah, this class would be great, a lot of people would be interested, or, yeah, it's not really how they're looking at it. Plus, it looks like, February? You're talking about putting
The seminar, yeah.
So if you're gauging seniors, most of them are still in Florida or Arizona.
That's a very good point.
They're not in town during those months. So it might be
Better to wait. I mean, like I said, this is a class. This is a class
right.
open. I'm not trying to form a group of anything. It's a class that I want to offer. Anybody wants to take it, they can take it. If a group develops amongst these participants and they decide, wow, this is a really cool idea, let's do it, that's great. But it wouldn't be something that then is attached to the town in any form of a group. I don't. That would be on their own then.
Yeah, I think it just would have to be clear about that from up front, because initially when I looked at this, I was like, oh, is someone coming in town and building one of these?
No.
I was like, where was I? I didn't hear about
Is
this.
Anki building?
Yeah,
No,
so
no.
you're not sharing in the business of development here?
No.
No, so I guess I would just be really clear up front that, there's no plans for something like this
No.
currently in town.
No. It's an informational workshop. Yeah.
That's another great point. I mean, we have our zoning codes. How does this fit into our current zoning codes? Is this even achievable with our current zoning regulations? We don't want to give a class and say, yeah, this is a great idea, and sell it to a bunch of seniors, and then they go to spend all this money developing it and setting it up, and our code book says, yeah, that's not really allowed in here.
Well, I had just a quick chat with Cheryl one day in regard to whether townhouses are possible here, and she said they are in certain areas. So it could very easily work with that type of a setup. But like I say, once a group has taken this information and decided this is something for me, this is something how I want to spend the last 20, 30 years of my life, they're going to decide where they want to be. Where is that site? I'm hoping it's in Hamlin. I'm hoping to keep them here, but they might not. They might say, oh, we might go someplace else. That's not part of the course. The course is just teaching them that this exists. This is a new option toward retirement that really isn't known about before. Because, I mean, I know I would love to live in a facility where I have my friends around me when I'm retired and we all hang out and have a good time. I thought that would be a fantastic thing. I would never know how to actually get it off the ground, though, other than wishful thinking. This tells them how to get it off the ground. This, how to do something like that. Rather than making plans and then they change because somebody got very ill, they lost all their money, and they can't go into the living facility they had hoped for. There are so many things that happen between your plans and then actually retiring.
I don't think it's a bad idea to put your toes in the water and take the temperature of what, you know, if it's worth looking into. I just like to see it coordinated with the seniors. And I think Angel's got a good point that February 19th
might be too early. No, that's a very good point.
To wait for people to come back from Florida. But I'd like to see it like a coordinated effort.
I guess I'd like to ask our town attorney too. You see anything in here that could possibly backfire and get our town in trouble? Listening to what you just said.
I know nothing about this, so I don't know what kind of community they would be looking. If it's townhouses, that's one thing, and if we allow them in the townhouse, that's fine. It'd be more like as she was explaining, it's an HOA. Really is what it is. Homeowners association. They get together. I don't think the town allows those, so I don't think they have any problems with it. But as a class, she teaches other classes. The class isn't gonna, it's just a class. She's not saying we're gonna do this in the town of Hamlin.
I guess I was more worried about, all right, we're not saying, all right, you should go with this build, you should go with which we shouldn't be doing.
No, you can't, no.
You're actually teaching a philosophy or something.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, but just something new that they might not have known about. Yeah. But I will definitely consider a new date. That's a great idea. I hadn't thought of that at all. I was just like chomping at the bits, want to get going. But yeah, and maybe that'll give time to get some more information from Michelle.
So the general consensus of this town board is to let her go ahead and go forward with it. Maybe pick a new date, get in touch with Michelle. Maybe just talk with Cheryl, make sure she can do this in town. And
Well, yeah, it doesn't mean you're not.
If they
no,
choose
just
to,
I asked
You're not
her,
committing to anything.
I asked her to give this presentation tonight so that this board could hear it and see it. So your general consensus is let her go ahead?
Yeah,
move forward.
I don't know, go ahead.
No, I meant just move forward.
Yeah, connect with Michelle is where I would
What I'm saying
say.
too, but with Michelle, I think I'm saying that the crew that Michelle normally serves is not what I see here. I see this as a very progressive kind of thing.
Right, but those are
it's
the
also
citizens of Hamlin.
They are the most active seniors in Hamlin,
Yes.
the ones that are
So-
in there. So that's the group that's gonna come to something like this.
How many do you need in a class to make it run?
I would put a deadline, so I know how many books to order, maybe 2 weeks prior to the class start, but I
mean, if you get like, say, 2 couples,
I don't
would
know.
you still run it?
No, probably not. I think I would need a minimum of about 10, 12 people. Yeah.
So I guess we're saying that to go ahead and go forward, see if we can get in touch with Michelle or whatever, maybe backdate up to when the seniors are here, and then come back to this board, let us know your progress and everything, and
okay.
It doesn't sound like anybody's against it, so let's, like Phil said, get your feet wet, but get a little more information and stuff. And,
okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right, do you have anything else?
Yes. quickly, we want to set up another group painting class, you know, the kind where we have one main painter that has on a, and then everybody else follows along. This has often been called sip and paint, where, because people bring their own beverages. Some of these may be alcoholic sometimes. I'm bringing this to the new board because I brought it once before. We were not allowed to allow them to bring alcoholic beverages. And I would just like to revisit that to make sure that this is still the case, or maybe not, and we can allow them. So.
What was the reason why we couldn't?
I don't think alcohol's allowed on town property.
No alcohol, if it's,
Town campus.
Well,
last time, if you had it outside of the town property,
Okay.
that's up to them, whoever you're serving it, but there's no alcohol allowed on the town campus.
On the council. So if you look at the events or like another area.
Yeah, it's just very difficult to book a night when they would have parties. They prefer to give it out for parties and not for a class. So it's very difficult to find a weeknight where that's congenial for that type of a class. That's on a night when they would also have it for parties. And now, because we have, or the board has allowed alcohol to be served amongst renters when they rent the lodge with the alcohol permit, the reason why I'm bringing it up is because if somebody, let's say, rented the lodge, let's say an arts instructor rented the lodge here and said, I'm going to do this group on my own, and all I'm doing is renting the lodge, and then they filled out an alcohol permit and ran that thing on their own, they were the ones who got their participants. They were the ones who ran the class. How would that be in conflict? I mean, I'm not saying I'm trying to find the back door to this. I'm just.
Town's not sponsoring.
Town's not sponsoring.
Right, it's an individual renting our facility and following our rules. The town is sponsoring this.
Okay.
Part of the recreation department.
Okay. All right. So then we'll just go back and leave it the way it was without alcohol, because I'd rather do it without alcohol than try to find a night at someplace else, because they prefer to run those, keep their Fridays and Saturday nights for events and parties rather than classes, but they're not making as much. That was the one thing, and the other thing is the sports registrations have started. They're slowly coming in, and that's it for now.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Town clerk, Patty Jo Grondell.
I do have something I'm bringing from the Lions Club. The Lions Club is gonna be collecting plastic that's not normally recycled in your normal recycling. So it's things like grocery bags, bread bags, bubble wrap, you know, that loose bag kind of plastic. They're going to be collecting it for a 6-month time period, and at the end of that 6-month time period, the goal is to get 500 pounds or 40,000 plastic film bags. And at the end of that 6 months, if they meet that goal, they get a park bench, you know, that composite plastic that'll last forever, kind of, because they heard about the walking trail that hopefully will go in the park, and they wanted to start working on benches to add along that walking trail. I bring this up because we need a collection bin, so I was just wondering if it's okay for the Lions to put a collection bin here in the hallway and at the library. We've already talked to the library.
I guess how big is a collection bin?
They're in my office right now. They just got delivered today. I don't know.
Like 2 by 2?
I think it might be a little bigger than that.
I guess it might depend on the size. We don't want to block our hallway and stuff too, with the amount of people that come in and out of here.
Right.
So I guess
Yeah.
we need to see the size of the
Yeah.
collection bin.
So I just got them delivered. We'll look at them.
Right. I guess, you know, if it was just a 2 by 2 by maybe 3 foot tall, I don't really see a problem with it.
Right.
When it got full, we get to empty as either wherever they take it or put it out.
And they,
Put it out in the barn temporarily, and get another box or something. And
They were gonna pick it up too.
yeah, they take it to tops where it gets weighed. So anytime it is full, it would just get taken to tops, get weighed and added.
But the benefit, it goes back to the town, because the idea is to get the benches for the walking trail.
Right, I don't, like I said, I'm more just what's the size of the box?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You don't
I'm
wanna
curious at
Blind it all
myself.
too
Oh,
much.
yeah, yeah.
The box width was like this, and I'm like, oh no.
You know, we don't want
But I
something
haven't
like
opened
a
it.
pumpkin box out in our hall.
So, I can show that to you guys
Okay,
afterwards. So that's that, and we're collecting taxes, property taxes, I'll take any of that. So we're busy doing that. That's it, and then just getting used to shared documents so we can share all of our stuff. Which I think is
I'm getting more
working.
used to it.
Once we get used to it, it'll work. I
Yeah.
think it'll be good,
Yeah.
so,
Take time. Did it?
yeah.
You know, I don't have an awful lot either. I mean, we did get a check from Monroe County for our semi-annual mortgage tax of $82,315.48, so that's good. And I've been working on trying to get my feet underneath myself with a computer and all the new stuff. I've tried to meet with most of the people up here at Town Hall and the library, the dog warden I've met with, so I've been trying to have a meeting with everybody and just see what the concerns and everything are. And trying meetings and stuff that are coming up, and then looking at all the stuff that we need to do, and like we have a few things that we have to learn as far as what to do with other things. And the zoning workshop, we are gonna start those up again. So is everybody okay with January? I think everybody got one, or no?
It's the third Thursday.
You did some with everybody?
In all their mailboxes, yes.
Okay,
So we're still-
January 20th would be the first one. It is the third Thursday, it looks like all of them are. So I guess is that we need to start these back up to fix our zoning laws.
It's very important.
7 o'clock.
Yes, it's 7 o'clock. Did you get one?
I just didn't check my mailbox.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got it.
Cheryl, do you want to share that to me so then I can put it on there? On the shared docs?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
I think I already gave you copies, but I'll share it. I'll figure out how to do that.
So that's, are we okay with that? The board is, I think we need to get going. right now for sure. Yeah. Okay. They say we're trying to move forward and everything, we're trying new things, and we're gonna stumble a little. I'm learning, I've stumbled a little bit already on the computer with this, our agenda and everything wasn't perfect, but we'll get there. Is there any other discussion anybody wants?
I have one thing, Patty Jo, have you gotten any calls from taxes from Lake Shore Sewer District?
Yes, I've gotten a lot, because they see that line item now for the bond. You know, it's a loan we got paying on, so,
I guess the question that I have is, so most of the, since I've been on the board, any of the districts we formed, we didn't start the taxing until the district was almost to completion or up and running, and this hasn't even gone to bid yet, so people, I've gotten a bunch of calls too, with asking why it's on our tax bill already.
It is a low amount on their tax bill, that's not even close to what they will be taxed when the thing is done. But we have, because of the delays with the DEC and everything, but we've already gone for the bond.
yeah, we've already got.
So
it's
we're
like getting
paying
a loan.
interest on the bond. We are paying tens of thousands of dollars of interest on a bond already. So we have to put that on the tax on the people because we are already paying for it. It will increase next year when the thing is actually done. All this is covering the interest in the bond, that's it. And I've also talked to a few people and told them that we will have something coming out when I have to have a meeting with JP, our engineer, or MRB group, our engineer. And when we find everything is pretty well set, they're asking for $200 for the very last permit that we need or whatever, and MRB actually pays them or whatever. But then everything should be done, so then we should be moving with the bids and everything. And I talked to a few people and I said, when we get something solid, then we'll go out. Hopefully we're gonna have a new web page and stuff by then. We're gonna be working on that also. Getting something set up, and when I get something solid, I will get out to all the people what is going on. But we're paying interest now because of the DEC and everything, taking a year to get permits. So that's why we had to tax them.
Could the ready monies couldn't be used for like taking the grant monies to apply it towards the bond?
No. This is, ready money we haven't gotten yet. I mean, this is all stuff that we're paying ourselves, the town. When everything starts coming in, then we can get the ready money and everything, and we still have to try to figure out that other grant money too, but it's still down when we start to figure everything out, but it's a small amount from what I'm hearing is on their taxes. I know they're upset about it, but it's just an interest.
$62, somebody told me at one point.
Yeah, $63. But I think that people are just like, why am I paying on this? It's not even anywhere. The project hasn't even really started from their perspective. Like there's no shovel in the ground.
Right, but it has actually started. We've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on engineering and permits and every other thing. So actually the project has started. I know it hasn't started putting pipe in the ground, but the project has started for a year now, so.
And then are there, there's a bunch of vacant lots that are all at the same amount as lots with homes on them. So aren't vacant lots a half unit considered a half unit?
Not unless it's farmland.
That's
as far as
all of our water districts.
With water districts, it was farmland. The vacant lots were still charged at what? When we go across farmland, then it was half the thing, but when you went across a vacant lot, they got charged as much as a regular home.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it did.
I
know we crossed a lot of farmland.
I know one of the last water districts we did, it was half a unit for any vacant lot. I don't know, we can look into it. I'm just bringing up the concerns that I've been getting phone calls about, and I didn't know if you were as well.
Any other discussion? Because we also have some more business. I make a motion to move into executive session at 8:45. If that's the actual time.
8:49.
8:49, I know the clock's wrong. To discuss a personnel matter. I would ask everybody to